You're listening to the tale of two podcasters from the 2007 RAB TGO Challenge, brought to you by theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
This podcast is just one of a special series produced from a wealth of recordings made in May 2007 by two backpackers, Andy Howell and me, Bob Cartwright, as we made our way via two different routes from the west to the east coast of Scotland as part of the 2007 RAB TGO Challenge.
Here at RAB, we're pleased to be involved in the TGO Challenge, which is the perfect testing ground for our clothing and sleeping bags. RAB has a Scottish heritage and over 25 years' experience of making gear that performs in the varied weather of the Highlands, as well as gear for the highest peaks in the Himalaya.
Co-sponsors TGO, the Great Outdoors magazine, have been behind this May event since its inception in 1980. The framework and principle is totally unique. It isn't a race or a competition of any kind. The objective is to foster good fellowship amongst walkers within the framework of a challenging 200-mile expedition. The start consists of a series of sign-out locations on the west coast, from Torridon in the north down to Ardrishaig in the south. Each challenger, solo, couple or group makes their way via a high route, a low route or a mixture of the two across Scotland to finish anywhere between Arbroath and Fraserburgh on the east coast. There's a set 2-week window to do this in, and each participant submits their route for inspection prior to departure for safety and advice reasons. The places, however, are limited to 300, and details about the event, entry forms, past stories and photographs can be found in the October issue of TGO magazine and on their website. Each participant makes the challenge as easy or as hard as they wish. The extremes can be a remote high route, crossing wild country and not seeing another soul for days on end. Or a route which takes in the many social events, perhaps not camping at all and just using established accommodation all the way. Most people do a mixture of the two in different forms. This year I started with my wife Rose in the beautiful village of Plockton, and Andy Howell with his partner Kate started from Strathcarron. We both carried recorders with us to capture our audio diaries and conversations which took place with other walkers as well as locals as we made our way to the east coast. Yes, this is the tale and adventures of two podcasters. Well, it's Monday the 21st and it's just gone 8 o'clock, and our happy little band are now gathered together after a very frosty morning. I think Colin's watch said it was -2 last night, but we've woken to glorious sunshine and blue skies, which probably won't last more than an hour or so, but it's been a welcome start to the day. And I'm just going to pass the microphone around our little collective to see what we're up to today. Where are we going today, Andy?
Tarfside, bacon sandwiches.
Sounds good to me.
Cups of coffee.
Kate?
Yeah, the bacon sandwiches sound like a real incentive. I'll be zooming over the hills.
And lightweight, Colin?
Yeah, I fancy a sausage sandwich, not the bacon sandwich, but yeah, bring on the hills.
Do they run to sausage sandwiches? Do they run to that?
So? No.
No?
No, mine's a baked potato.
Oh, baked potato?
Yes.
Followed by a bacon sandwich?
Followed with butter.
Excellent.
Have you noticed that we've all forgotten the hills?
Oh, yeah, that's why we're here, isn't it?
The lure of the bacon sandwiches is far too strong, Bacon, please.
Yes, well, the first person that smells a bacon sandwich wins a prize.
It's bound to be you.
No, I think it'll be Colin, he'll be yards ahead of the rest of us. So we're going to tootle off from our lovely little spot here, which I'm quite glad we found, really, last minute. It was a good...
Did you see the guy come past in his Land Rover this morning?
I presume it was the warden, yeah.
Yeah, he had a good look at us. Ooh.
We got the nod. Right, well, we better get going then. What time do we reckon we're going to get there? It's 20 past 8 now. 2-ish?
4.
4?
That's my bet, 4.
So Colin
Any
will be...
advances?
I'll go with 2. Two's about right.
Right, Colin's getting the tea on then. Excellent. Well, we'll catch up a bit later on. Well, it's just gone 4:30 and we've arrived at Tarfside and had a very enjoyable few moments, as you do down in the hostel, drinking tea and chewing the fat and eating the cakes. And I think today has been a fairly unique day, weather-wise. It's been absolutely fantastic. Lee's with me. What's your thoughts on the day, Lee? Did it turn out as expected?
Yes, it was quite a tough day, as you say, coming out of Glen Clover and over the hill. But the sun was blazing down on us, and I think I've got a suntan.
I can feel it on my neck. I think it's the first day it hasn't rained on me. I know you've had good days, but how would you describe that route in then from Braemar, the way we came over Jocks Road, rather than the other couple of ways we've been through Balmoral?
Oh, it's spectacular! A spectacular route. Quite different to the rest. It's high and it's almost alpine in its look, really. And but certainly the best way out of Braemar I've come so far, but quite hard, I thought. Quite hard.
Yeah, I mean, after Localita Lodge, the bit along Jocks Road to the bottom of the climb there was I thought it was just spectacular, wonderful. But I think that climb might put a lot of people off because it was a bit of a killer, wasn't it? Yeah,
it's a bit of a killer, and as I said yesterday, it's quite an exposed top. But I think the scenery just made that easy, really. Yeah, I'm sure it did.
Yeah, and it's like coming down an alpine pass afterwards. You're right. Camping was a bit tricky last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, we struggled to find a spot, but we persevered along the river there and through the forest and found a adequate spot. But it was out of the way of everybody, and it felt really like we was right in the thick of the woods. Yeah,
it was all right, wasn't it? A bit of a stiff frost last night, and apparently Collins Watch was saying it was -2, so a reasonable frost. Now we're on the playing fields, or whatever they are in Tarfside, and the Tarfside welcome is as warm as ever. Hopefully the lodge will be open a bit later on for a few beers. And it seems all the time we get to Tarfside the weather's fantastic, and it's usually a sharp night. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's going to be as cold as it's been before?
I think these sunny days we've been having ends up with a good frost at night, and previous days at nights at Tarfside have proven that so put your woolly socks and your woolly hat on tonight, Bob.
Thanks, mate.
I always enjoy camping at Tarfside on the sports field, as there's a genuine air of welcome about the place. Once you've set up camp, there's plenty of time to amble over to others and share stories in the evening sun. People like Doug Scott on his second challenge, and overseas challengers Giuseppe Valfre and Simone Pinzolo from Milan.
No, very close though, second.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, you sounded like an old hand full of experience then.
Well, I'm an old hand, but not full of experience. Yeah.
So whereabouts did you start from then?
Shieldbridge.
Yeah, and how's it been the weather-wise? Have you had the same sort of experience we've had?
I don't know what you've had, but I know what I've had, and it was not too good setting off. It's been overcast, drizzling, and then from Drumnadrocket across the ferry to, what's that place called? Invervarig, is it?
That's right. I think they call it the Black Hut, don't they? The one you went up to?
The Black Hut, yeah. I went up to the Black Hut, and getting on towards evening, and the hail started. And so I was going to camp outside, and decided that I wouldn't. I'd camp inside. Cleared the mouse droppings off the table, and got settled down for the night. Started snowing. Snow hitting the window, wet snow hitting the windows, and in the middle of the night I woke up and I thought the windows had steamed up, but in the morning I saw that it was the ice that had frozen, the snow that had frozen onto the windows in great globules, and the water in the water bottle was partially frozen. So that was the reason that I could feel that it was colder and colder during the night, and I thought I'd be warm inside that bothy, especially with it being black. But in the morning I was trying to get the ice out of the flexi bottle that I've got and trying to break it down so I could fill the thing up, and had to stand it in the doorway, for the sun to get onto it to melt it through.
So it was a bit of a chilly night then, all round.
It was a chilly night, yeah. And the next night wasn't as that was quite cold as well, although the weather was better, but it was cold.
Have you been suffering sort of any high winds and so on during the night?
Not particularly high, no higher than it is now. It's just gusty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just blustery now,
It's
isn't it?
blustery now, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, today's been the best day, I would say, for everybody in this area.
Well, certainly the people I've heard talking about the last couple of days, yesterday and today, have really enjoyed it.
But some people haven't had any bad weather at all, and it's been quite dry. It depends which route you take, I think, because the weather's so localised, isn't it?
Well, it seems to be, don't believe anything you hear about Scotland's weather, isn't it, really?
No, especially from the weather reporters, because, they can say it'd be terrible, and it may not be. Yeah.
So did you go through Balmoral this time?
I went to Braemar, obviously, for the food and the beer.
And the chip shop.
No, I didn't go to the chip shop. I went to the little restaurant place that does fish and chips.
Oh, is this the one at the as you
On
just
the
come in,
corner.
as you come into Braemar?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I had the all-day breakfast and numerous other meals in there as well.
So what was that like? Because a lot of people are saying that it's actually much better than going to the Five Farms.
Well, they do now, because the Five Farms has changed hands over the past few years, hasn't it? They cater more for coach trips, and the food's gone right down the pan. They used to do nice Angus beef pies and God knows what, and they don't do all that anymore. It's a reduced menu, and also they used to drop the front of the bar down, and for serving the food from. There's got a big hinge running along a third of the way down the bar, and they don't use that anymore. So it's just a meeting point, really, the Five Farms now, I think, rather than for food.
And so from Braemar then, which way?
Balmoral Estate, yeah.
Which way did you come through? Is the locality lodge?
I came through Gelder Shiel and then Sheeling of Mark. It was 2 short days, basically. I had the 2 short days, you see. And then over to here.
Excellent.
And here I am.
And
the weather's fine.
Isn't it lovely in Tarfside?
Yeah,
It's always
yeah,
perfect in Tarfside, but a very cold night, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
And from here, what's the plan?
The plan is to go over to Clattering Brig, camping at Clattering Brig, and I believe there's a little. If you get there early enough, I believe there's a little cafe where you can get tea and cakes and things. So it'll be somewhere either in the cafe's garden or inland, just adjacent to it, and then the next day finish off at Johnshaven, and that's it.
Excellent. Just as a quick aside, I know that as you came over to me there, you were talking about stoves, just to give people an idea what they can use when they do the challenge, if they wanted to do that. You've been using a little Triad meth stove this year, which I believe has been a great success. Did you use meths last time you came, or was it a gas stove?
No, I used, I'm not sure whether I used gas or petrol. I may have used petrol. I think, yeah, I did. I used a petrol stove.
And in your opinion, which has been the more efficient and the best one to carry with you?
Well, certainly the lightest one has been the little meth stove. I quite like it because it's minimal. The fuel's easy to get, and well, it's easy to use. Yeah. The way that I use it, and the amount of cooking I don't do a great deal of it. You see, yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much indeed for your time, and I hope you have an enjoyable last few days down to Montrose. I'll see you at the party.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it because it was different. It was maybe more difficult than the first time, and even if the weather was a bit harsh, I think it was just amazing trip. Really.
How does it differ from the walking you do in Italy?
As Giuseppe told before, in Italy is much more rocky, and there are signs on the path. You cannot do your own path. There are several already.
Routes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then there are fixed booties with an organization for these booties, so you have something to eat. And so it's much less wild. It's not so wild among brackets.
So you've got the mountain bodies, mountain huts.
Yeah.
And do these mountain huts, do they feed you? Do you have to camp, stay there, or can you camp?
No, you cannot camp. In Italy there is not free camping. And near this hut you can simply sleep inside, and they feed you.
So that's it. So coming to Scotland then is quite a different experience for you.
It's very different, especially the scenery. It's like these are hills, but look like mountains. It's strange because you are at 600 meters and you are on the top of it, and you can see everything. It's amazing.
Do you think it's tough? It's hard walking.
It's hard walking because of the distances. You walk 20-25 kilometers a day, going up, down, up again. But it's not so hard. I mean, you can do that. Everybody can do that.
I see that you were saying that you brought 2 weeks of food with you.
No.
So what was the one?
But we carried eggs.
Eggs?
For the morning.
Oh, okay. Okay. And how do you like your eggs in the morning?
Oh, just fried.
Fried eggs. Excellent. And what about the Scottish hospitality? Have you found the people welcoming you to Scotland, and also the people on the challenge?
Yeah, well, everybody was very, very kind, very, very helpful. And I noticed in comparison of other parts of UK, for example, if you arrive, might be quite late in a bed and breakfast, they said, oh, it's over. Here you can arrive at 10 o'clock and they open the door and they help you, they feed you, they give you everything. And they can also help you on the route. If they see you look in the map, they try to give you some advice, and so people is very helpful and kind. Yeah.
And are people not like that in Italy at all?
Yes, they are, of course. but here they recognize challenges. Yeah. They see, oh, are you in the challenge? Oh, I did it in 1981, and they say, good luck. I'll help you anyway. It's great.
So what would you say to any fellow countrymen from Italy who might be thinking that this would be good for them? Do you think the other question I wanted to ask you actually was about the navigation? Did you find the navigation much of a problem? Do you think people that you walk with in Italy, they would find navigation a problem because you have set routes?
I don't think it's a problem. Not a big problem. You just need the right maps. You have to follow the directions precisely, and you won't have any problem.
Do you think the maps are good?
Yes, excellent. OS maps are just probably the best I've ever had.
Excellent. And so that other question then, your colleagues or associates over in Italy, if anybody was considering to visit here, would you recommend it to them?
Yeah, for sure. Also to take part to the TGO, not only visit Scotland, but if they they like to walk, they like mountain walking, I think that they can enjoy also taking part to the TGO.
Excellent, guys. Well, thanks very much indeed. Where are you planning to finish?
Stonhaven, Dunnottar Castle.
Okay, well, enjoy your last few days. Hope the weather holds for you. It's been great the last couple of days, and if it stays like this, it'll be an enjoyable dip in the sea.
Lovely.
Excellent. Thanks, gents. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
While we were enjoying the evening sunshine on the field, Andy and Kate stopped short at the hostel, where they met another overseas challenger, who was doing the trip amazingly in sandals.
Rob Hausam. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah area, in Midvale, Utah. And this is my first challenge, my first time in Scotland. It's been a great experience. I can't say it's all been entirely enjoyable because there's been some pain along the way, but overall I've had a fantastic time.
Now, how did you get to hear about the challenge, Rob?
I've been asked that question by many people, and I'm not entirely sure of the answer exactly, but I got onto it from the Backpacking Light website in the U.S., which I believe referenced me over to the Backpacking Light UK website, and from there I found out about the challenge and read stuff from Chris Townsend and listened to the series of podcasts from last year, and that got me hooked on the idea.
Oh, that's good. That's really, really good. Now, you've been doing a kind of classic US lightweight crossing. So tell us about the equipment you've been using.
Well, let's see. I'll start with the less unusual ones. I'm using a lightweight pack, a Six Moon Designs Starlight, without the aluminum stays, keeping the weight down pretty well. It's pretty close to 10 kilos with a small amount of food and water. It's a little more than that when I'm fully loaded. And that pack has worked well. It's served me well on several trips over the last few years, and it's doing well on this one as well. Some of the other gear choices I made are a little bit more unusual. One is I'm using a lightweight tarp and bivy-sack combo rather than a tent. And the ones I have chosen are I have the Stealth Zero Nano tarp from Bozeman Mountain Works in the U.S. and the Stealth Nano bivy-sack.
Now, there were a lot of people here. When we were talking about it last night, there were a lot of faces looking rather shocked at the notion of crossing Scotland in a tarp. But it's worked okay for you.
It has worked. Every night I've been out, it's worked just fine. I will say that my trip has turned out slightly differently than I had planned. I had intended to camp on most nights, with only a few in B&Bs and hotels, and I've ended up staying in a little bit more than I anticipated, due to some hurting feet and some other things. But all the nights I've been out, the tarp has performed, and the bivy-sack has performed very well.
Now, to make that system work, it's a whole system, isn't it? The bivy-sack and also the insulated clothing and sleeping systems you're using as well are pretty important. So tell us about those, because you haven't been using down, have you? Which most of us here would be using.
That's right. What I have with me is the Cocoon series, again from Bozeman Mountain Works in Montana. And it's a lightweight sleeping quilt, 18 ounces, and insulated with Polar Guard. I'm not sure which type, but Delta or 3D. I think it's Delta. And coupled with that, there is a lightweight hooded pullover and a lightweight insulated pants, all insulated with Polar Guard. And they work together inside the bivy-sack, and they have performed brilliantly, I would say. They've kept me very warm and down to either at zero or very near zero.
Yeah, because we've had 1 or 2 cold nights, and the main thing is that you're warm.
Yes, I go to bed and I wake up with warm feet and a warm body. It's been as good as any I've ever experienced in my down bags in the past.
Now, the other downside to be using a tarp has got to be midges, our little friends up here. How have you coped with those? Because there were 1 or 2 of them about.
Well, actually, I haven't encountered them, though, which is kind of surprising. I haven't had any insect issues at all so far. I'm now at Tarfside, so I don't know if we'll have any the last couple of days, but it's not been a problem at all. I carried 2 things. I carried a head net with me, which I've never taken out of the pack, and I also carried some insect repellent, which I have never opened. The bivy-sack does come with a built-in net, except the version that I received it's a prototype from BMW didn't have that, so I had to supply my own head net. But again, so far it's not been an issue for me.
They've been quite good to you, haven't they? Because they've let you have prototypes of quite a few of their new ranges of gear and clothing.
Yeah, they've been great. Ryan Jordan has been just fantastic. I had ordered some of the Cocoon stuff when they became available for this season, but the delivery date was going to be in late June, and that's not quite not good for this trip. So I emailed Ryan, and then we corresponded, and sure enough, he sent me a package of some prototype gear, and just in time for the trip. Wasn't in time for me to really check it out ahead of the trip, so the trip was an experiment with it, but it has been a very successful experiment.
Okay. I'm just imagining now people listening to this thinking, good grief, tarps and all of this stuff. But it gets even better, doesn't it? Because what have you been walking in?
Been walking in sandals.
Okay, so tell us about the sandals.
Sandals are Chaco Z1 sandals from Chaco Company in the U.S. and Colorado. They are footwear that I've kind of adopted as my my preferred footwear for pretty much everything, including some fairly significant backpack trips I've done in the U.S. before. Nothing nearly this long, up to 3 days, that type of trip. But they've performed very well. They have a well contoured and very supportive footbed. The new models are quite light. They're as light as any of the lightest trail runners. They have a very good gripping sole, a Vibram type sole. They're highly adjustable. That's one of the features that I really like about them, because I can wear them with whatever number and thickness of socks that I want, including putting on seal skins when I want to keep my feet a little drier going through boggy areas. And I think that's been very good.
Oh, great. So that's kit. Oh yeah, I should just ask you, stove. What have you been using to cook with?
Well, I have another bit of an unusual piece of gear, but it's the Bush Buddy Ultra wood stove. It comes from a company in Canada, and Backpacking Light distributes that for them in the U.S., as well as you can get it directly from the manufacturer. But that's a rather fantastic piece of equipment. It's quite light. It's about 5 ounces. There are lighter stoves out there, of course, but you have to carry fuel for those. And so you can use basically small bits of wood and other combustible materials, and it has a very efficient firebox design. It's once you light it, it burns everything completely to just fine ash. It performs really amazingly well, and I've had pretty good success with it here.
Now, I've had one of those for a month or so and thought seriously about taking it on the challenge, even just as a backup stove, but didn't in the end. But Colin Ibbetson's had one and used it all the way across without ever having problems really with fuel. And you've found fuel okay even on higher ground?
Yeah. The first day or two over on the West Coast coming from Shield Bridge, basically, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to find any fuel, but actually, in the first night coming over, the B-Lock going towards Lock Quick, I believe is the way to say it. I keep never quite sure about that, but I was actually got to my camp late and was tired, and I didn't bother to try it, and then I didn't try it again for a couple of days. By the time I did try it, I had no problem finding any fuel. There's, you need some kind of woody type of growth typically, or very dry other materials. But I believe you could, especially if I had had a little more time to spend with it, I believe it would have been able to find something no matter where I have been across the country.
Yeah, and the great thing about wood is that you've got a spare stuff sack with you, and you pick it up and put it in your sack when you can find it. It's lightweight stuff, isn't it? It's still much lighter than carrying a gas canister.
Yeah, it would be. Honestly, the idea of using the stuff sack to pick it up along the way is something that hadn't occurred to me, but it really is the kind of thing that it shouldn't take much weight or much time to deal with if you're just used to doing it.
Okay, well, that's gear, but we should really talk about the experience, because that's why we're all here, as fascinated as we all are about gear. But, you started at Shield Bridge, and how have you found it, crossing the landscape?
Well, it's been a pretty incredible trip. I've really enjoyed the variety. Some things are as I had more or less imagined and expected, and other things maybe a little more than I had expected, which is, I guess, not surprising. I have never experienced going up and down the side of a mountain with every step is just squishing water out from under your feet, the boggy areas even on the steep hillsides. That's something I don't know if it even occurred to me before that might be like that. Just the amount of saturated wet ground is something I've never experienced anywhere else. I knew to expect the sort of stark beauty of the landscape, the treeless, hills and tundra-looking ground, and I really appreciated that, and just all the variety. And one thing I've noticed is the trip and the country I've been through has been many times very wild and rugged and remote, but it's of a somewhat different character than what we have in the U.S. in terms of they probably wouldn't classify as wilderness by some of the U.S. standards, but that's not really an issue. It's an interesting mix of wildness and interspersed with bits of civilization, and I found it very fascinating.
Yeah, it's challenging walking, isn't it? And even where you've got the bits of civilization, you come across it, you can sense it's an old, ancient patterns of farming and settlement, and I find that fascinating.
Yes, that's true. One of the highlights of the trip was going over the Larry Guru, and of course, doing it in sandals is one. I don't know if anyone else has ever done that or not. Maybe they have, but that was.
Chris Townsend will have done it in sandals.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably would have. Yeah. But they performed very well on that terrain, which is exactly as I expected. I've never had any problems with that and that kind of terrain, even those big boulder fields. In fact, I find my foot plants to be much more secure and confident when I have the flexibility to do that. But as far as the experience itself, that was the day the weather turned really nasty. And I guess I probably should have thought about my foul weather alternative, but I was already into it before it really turned foul. And I'm glad I, pressed on. It, really didn't have much choice, but it was incredible experience being up there buffeted by 80-mile-an-hour winds and pelting rain and crossing this wonderful landscape.
You make it sound so attractive.
Yeah, right. Well, that's true, but that's only it was tough.
It is a challenge, isn't it? It's not quite like walking anywhere else in a sense. I mean, even for those of us in Europe, the Alps or something like that it's fine because you've got good tracks and you're going up and down and the weather's good. But as you said here, we spent the first 3 days of our crossing just trudging through bogs.
Yeah.
And it has its own appeal. Now, I know that there's a lot of people in the States who are interested in the challenge. We all get emails from time to time. Doesn't matter. So how did you go about planning a route, given that you didn't know the countryside and you didn't know the terrain?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. And really the answer is the wonderful help you get from the challenge staff. They have the crew of experienced route vetters to give, particularly us first-timers and particularly us guys from overseas, lots and lots of help. And Roger Smith was my vetter, and he was fantastic. He made some suggestions, which gave me an initial set, basically, kind of suggesting a fairly classic first-time challenge route. I had some, and looked that over, and I had some particular things that I wanted to try to do that were a little bit different, including crossing the Larry Guru and then ending at Dunatar Castle near Stonehaven, which I should be at in a couple of days. And anyway, I sent those back to Roger, and we worked it out, and he's had a great deal of very, very helpful advice, and it makes it pretty easy, actually.
Yeah, I know Roger and his colleagues are very proud of the international contingent that come on the challenge every year. So the message has got to be to anywhere in the world, if you just fancy it, then have a go at it. You'll get every help and every assistance, and we certainly enjoy having you here.
Oh, thanks. I certainly have enjoyed being here and just the opportunity to do something like this. It's a unique kind of trip. It's one thing that attracted me to it. I can't think of anything else like it that I know anywhere where there's an organized event, but yet it's still quite individualistic and flexible. You can kind of make it the trip you want, but yet you've got an experienced crew of people kind of helping you along and watching out for you a bit, and I don't know, and the camaraderie that you get when you run into people on the trail, just like heading up to, the morning, camped at Feshy Bridge, heading up towards the Larry Guru by myself, I run into Ron Reynolds, who's also doing the same thing, and neither one of us knew anyone else was planning to do that day, but it was nice to run into him, and we were together part of the way and separate part of the way, and that was good, and the gatherings at Braemar and here at Tarfside, all the things just make it very special.
Yeah, does that. I mean, this is a social event as much as it is a walking event, and the first week is pretty wild and pretty remote, but then you start getting down to Braemar and the towns towards the end, and the social side really kicks in, doesn't it? And this hostel, Tarfside, that we're in at the moment, is a fantastic place to kind of just ease you into the end of the trip.
Yeah, that's how it feels for sure. That was nice. We had a very long day yesterday coming from Geldershieldbothy on the Balmoral estate and getting here to Tarfside, which put me back on schedule. I had been a little behind what my plan was. It was a very, very long day of walking, and it was very welcome to show up not too much before 9 p.m. and have them still welcome us in and be able to serve us a little food and all that. That was great.
Yeah. And at the end at Montrose, are you going to the official dinner?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, we look forward to seeing you there. And I better not keep you any longer because you've got yet another day of trudging through, I guess, wet ground. But, Rob, thanks very much. It was great.
It's been a wonderful time so far, and I'm looking forward to the end coming up soon.
Well, it's 8 o'clock, and as you can hear in the background of voices, people are emerging from their tents and starting to pack up, ready to leave the campsite at Tarfside. It certainly wasn't as cold last night as it has been in previous years. It was a very pleasant evening, socialising over at the lodge, and then we all slept remarkably well until this morning. A lot of people are heading down to the hostel where they've booked a breakfast, a bacon sandwich or whatever to get them going for the day. Some people are emerging from there, and I can see them just walking by on the road. And some of us are going down to the retreat. And the retreat is a community-based cafe and museum run by the community, a bit like the lodge here in Tarfside, and we've not seen it before. I believe it's only recently opened, so we're going to call in for a cup of tea and a chat and see how these things are organised in the area if we can, and have a chat to some of the people there. So we're looking forward to a slightly different start to the morning. Colin's already had his porridge. He can't get going without his porridge, but Lee and I are holding ourselves back for whatever the retreat has to offer, so that'll be interesting. But generally, it's looking once again like a lovely morning. The weather is fairly good, same as yesterday, really. Plenty of blue in the sky. I even see a glowing sunshine. There's plenty of shadows, so although there's a cool breeze, it's nothing like it has been over previous days. And it's looking like it's going to be a good last couple of days as we head towards Stonehaven. But en route, if possible, as usual, I'll try and chat to as many people as I can.
Just down the road is the retreat, where following a very welcome full breakfast, Valerie Welsh explained some of the history behind the Glen-esque community.
Every year I come through Tarfside, seems to be a real warm welcome from the community. What is it like actually living in a community like this?
It's great. As you say, it's a community. We've got the great community spirit in the area, and we all sort of join together to try to work and make the walkers welcome and, well, everybody welcome.
Because walking across Scotland, you obviously go through a lot of glens, and certain glens definitely give you the feeling you're not really wanted, or if you are there, that you really must keep to this path and keep to that route and so on. But certainly over the years, well, it's like the 25 odd years that the challenge has been coming through here, I don't think there's ever been a time where anybody's ever felt unwelcome.
I think there is more areas that are getting, they don't want you there sort of thing, but I think because the challenge is such a well-known thing, they just let you carry on.
Mm. Well, this road is obviously a dead end from the main road, and I know coming through at the weekend it's very, very busy with weekend visitors and just people enjoying the countryside and the ability to park down there by the river. The retreat itself, has been going some time, I understand.
Yes, originally we opened in 1955, I think it was, as a museum, gift shop and tea room. It underwent a major refurbishment in 2004, opening again in 2005 as a gift shop and tea room and well, it's more a restaurant now because we've got a licensing thing as well. The museum opened up 2006. It was major refurbished afterwards, and it opened in 2006. So we're trying to attract more people back to the new look building.
You were saying that the actual community gathered together and got some grants and so on, and actually bought it off the local laird, I presume. And you've done a fabulous job in here. I mean, this really is superb. I can see how good it would be for the community, because you can open all the doors up for a function room, and it's also quite cosy as a tea room.
Yes, in the winter, when we're just open mainly in the season, in the summer, but in the winter we do have evenings. We have social evenings, which again is mostly just the local community, but we do have other folk, different social evenings, steak nights, curry nights, those sort of things, which draw people in, and just for a drink, just social quiz nights and things, and have quite a social calendar through the winter.
Oh, as we came down past Lockleigh there, I saw the first the menu pinned to the information board there, and it's amazing how much it can whet your appetite in the next few miles before you get here. I think it's the first time you sort of promoted it to the challengers, the fact that the ones that are camping down on the campsite down the playing fields, that you're open in the evenings, just so that if people listen to this now for next year and they consider it for next year, what's the sort of things that's on offer to them as they come through for when they're doing the challenge?
We can offer them full meals if they wish, or we're doing a carry-out service. We take the carry-outs up to the fields, the campsite for them. Just whatever we've got the menu posted up at the toilets on Tarfside at the toilet block, and we have. Last night we had a runner going round the field taking orders. So I mean, and if they want to come down here and have a meal without having to walk, we can run them back up again. If we're running back and forward with food for others, we can sort of do a taxi service as well if they wish.
Well, certainly feet can be a little bit tender when we get to this stage.
I noticed one chap was limping there. He said he had a big blister on his heel. So.
You can be a bit footsore. So there's a telephone number there. So if people want to order something, that you'll deliver it to the field. You'll even give them a lift back to the restaurant. And I presume, because you know what we're like when we finished all this, we've got a bit of an appetite. It's some good food, isn't it?
Yeah, very good food, yes. And it's all homemade and home baking
and plenty of it.
And plenty of it, yes.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I can thoroughly recommend the breakfast. I've just had a full breakfast here, which has been excellent, and I've just topped up my rucksack with some sandwiches and some scones and homemade jam.
Yes, we do rhubarb and ginger jam.
Oh, lovely.
I'm busy pulling rhubarb from the garden out there to make it.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much indeed for your time and your hospitality, and I wish you the best with the challenges, but also the tourist season, the summer season, because you've opened just a little bit early for us, haven't you?
We're normally open full time it's to be from June this year, but we've opened 2 weeks early just to catch all the walkers and I mean, it does pay off when it's good weather, nice days. You do get the odd tourist coming up as well. So.
And for people listening to this who might come later on in the year, I gather you've got the new investment, the new toy, the new midge machine.
Yes, we just acquired a midge eater machine, so hopefully that should be up and running just very shortly. It makes a big difference, presumably, does it? It will do. I mean, the midges are not as bad as the West Coast here, but they do spoil if you're having a barbecue outside or something, which we do have fun days and things planned as well for throughout the summer. Midget eaters could make a big difference, I think. Lovely. Well, thanks very much indeed for your time, and I'll let you get back to the queues of challenges that are coming through for breakfast. Thank you.
Further along the road, we met Andy and Kate, and while Lee, Colin, John, Rob and I decided to head for Glendy and our last wild camp, Andy and Kate chose the Riverside Scenic Route to Northwater Bridge via Edsall.
Well, it's nearly the end now, and it's the last night before we hit Montrose. I'm at Northwater Bridge campsite with a few early comers, and I thought I'd just have a chat to them and see how they enjoyed it. Andrew, this is your first challenge, isn't it? Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, it's been really good. Had a good time, and enjoyed meeting all the people, and the weather's been good, which is a bonus, so very happy.
Okay. And where did you start?
Started at Oban.
Yeah. And a good trip across?
Has been, yeah. A few sort of slight injuries, but we've got through it, and now nearly there.
Okay. And highlights?
A few hotels, a few pubs along the way have been highlights.
So the social side of the challenge has been pretty important to you?
Yes, yeah. It's made it a lot easier, and when it's hard going, it's quite nice to get to the end of the day.
Now, putting this diplomatically, you're one of the younger challengers, aren't you? Most of us are getting on a bit now. Is that interesting, or does it have an impact on it, or would you like to drag a few mates along next time?
Yeah, I'd like to see if I could get a few mates, but just depends, doesn't it? Just seems that everyone's a lot older, but.
Well, the future of the challenge involves getting the next generation involved, I guess. Jeff, you're a bit of a veteran. You even got married on the challenge last year. Good trip across?
Yeah, it's been excellent. It's been a very relaxing trip across, socially, but just a nice time.
And where did you start?
Oban with Andrew and Colin.
Okay. And highlights this time?
Highlights, a nice evening in the Masons at the Tarfside.
Okay, so again, it's that social side of the challenge coming through, which for those people that haven't done it before comes as a bit of a shock. I know when I did it for the first time, the social side of it was something I hadn't quite appreciated in quite the same way. Now, you've got a major competition, haven't you? I've been looking at those all the way very I've been noticing how stable they are in the wind. Are you getting on with it fine?
Yeah, we've had very high winds this year, and it's been absolutely fine. Very little movement, and it's just big enough for me, and I'm slightly larger than most challengers, and it's a great tent for the weight.
Yeah, and it's about 900 grams?
The manufacturers claim 860, but I think it's nearer 1,000.
Yeah, and it packs down quite small as well, isn't it? Which is quite important when you're trying to get everything in that pack.
Yeah, it's easy to get into what's a very small pack that I've got now.
Well, just a final saunter into Montrose tomorrow. Are you looking forward to the dinner?
Yeah, it should be good. Any dinner's nice when you've been walking all day, so look forward to a good one.
Well, you need that positive thinking with the challenge dinner, I tell you, but never mind. Anyway, have a good last day.
That concludes this part of The Tale of Two Podcasters from the 2007 RAB TGO Challenge, brought to you by theoutdoorsStation.co.uk.